Oh, I'm sorry. It's I was watching the football game. Niners are beating the tar out of the Green Bay Packers for you Niner fans. Okay. Chapter 1, Lesson 2 of Precalculus, looking at the characteristics of functions when we are analyzing them. And in this video, we're going to look at range. And the range values are the y values that are produced when you put in x values or you substitute in x values from your domain. So when you put a value in for x, you simplify it, you get this value of y. So the y values, all the y values are considered the range. Now with domain, we had two mathematical or algebraic ways we could determine the restrictions on the domain. We would just look for variables in the denominator, which we would then decide what numbers would make that variable or that denominator 0, and that would not be in our domain. And then we looked for negative radicands. With range values, it's not quite as easy. And in fact, there's really no algebraic way to determine what the range is. The one thing that could be helpful to make finding the range quicker would be to, once we start learning the functions and what they look like, you can figure out the range pretty quickly by knowing in your mind what the picture of that graph basically looks like. But there really is no algebraic way to do it, so most of the time we're just going to do this graphically. And graphically, we're going to use kind of what I like to use as a horizontal line. Okay, and kind of like the vertical line, remember when we talked about domain numbers, if we moved a vertical line along the x-axis and then if it crossed the function, then those numbers were in the domain, and if it didn't cross, those numbers were not in the domain. Well, when we're doing range values, we kind of want to do the same thing, only we're going to take a horizontal line. So bringing back kind of the same example, I have my graph pictured here. And again, if I imagine a horizontal line and I move up and down the y-axis, you'll notice that down here, this horizontal line will never cross this function in any place. So that means none of these y values are in the range because these y values are not part of the function. So these numbers would not be considered in the range. However, if I get right up here, the very first point, and again, just like the vertical line, let's say this number is 4 here. It's going to be, let's say this is 4. Then right here at 4, this y value of 4 is the first one that has the graph as associated with it. And as I go up here, we see that the horizontal line will continue to touch that function no matter how far we go up the y-axis. So the range values then would, again, much like the domain values, it begins at 4, 4 is included, and then they go up to positive infinity. In this case, positive infinity being up here and negative infinity being down here. So really, to figure out the range, the best way to do it is take the function, graph it on your calculator, take a look at the picture, and then imagine this horizontal line and determine which values of y, where that horizontal line would intersect the function. And where it intersects the function, those values are in the range. Where it does not intersect the function, those values are not in the range. And really, that's all there is to domain, or excuse me, that is all there is to range values.